Hello everyone and welcome to the Waffle Flower channel. It's Shannon here, and today I'm going to be using these two stamp sets. This is the Cutaway Alpha stamp set, and I'm going to use this new stamp set from our spring 2017 release. This is called Hello Stampurr. I'm going to use those two cats that I just pointed to. Alright, so in my MISTI I've already got mounted most of my sentiment, which is basically going to be my whole card, and I'm going to ink it up with Memento Tuxedo Black. I'm using this ink today because I will eventually Copic color, and it is a Copic safe ink. So I'm just going to ink up the sentiment here and then I'll stamp it. And I will stamp this a couple times just to make sure. I like to do this almost every time I stamp. Thank goodness I have a MISTI. I'll ink it again just to make sure it's nice and dark and bold. So there you go. That's most of it. So you can see it's hard to read right now because some of the letters are missing, and I will re-stamp them. But you can kind of see what I'm doing here. I'm calling this technique sentiments with letter substitutions. I'm going to substitute some of the vowels in my sentiment with the kitties from the Hello Stampurr stamp set. So eventually this will say, your kitten, me, meow. I saw that on a little girl shirt, and I just thought it was so hilarious that I had to use it on a card. I mean, this could be like a birthday card too. It could be your kitten, me, meow. It's your birthday. Something to that extent could be on the inside. So I thought this was a really fun sentiment, and I thought these Hello Stampurr kitties worked perfectly with this. So now I'm continuing to reposition different letters that I had used earlier and get them into the missing spots in my sentiment and then ink them up. And because I end up using the E and the M, which also flipped is the W several times, I have to do this eventually 4 times to get all the letters there. So see, you can see me positioning the E and the W here. I like to use my tweezers because I find that the stamps stick less to the tweezers. They stick a lot to my fingers, and it's easier to fine-tune the position with the tweezers, so I do use that a lot. Okay, so I got that in there. I'll ink that up, and I'll stamp that a couple times as well. And after I do that E and W, I'll just have the E to do one more time and an exclamation point, and then I'll be all done stamping my sentiment. So my tips for this technique are choose critters. Now, it doesn't have to be critters. It could be flowers possibly, but choose critters that are about the same size as your alphabet stamps that you are using. And you want to substitute the vowels. It's easier to put the words together when you just remove a vowel. And don't remove too many, otherwise it could be challenging to read. And yep, that's pretty much it. Yeah, just try to make sure your critters are about the same size as your alphabet stamps, and don't take out too many of the vowels. And it's surprising how even when your critter is not really the shape of the letter you're taking out, like my first kitty is not even close to not really close to an O, it looks more like an L, but your mind can figure it out and piece it together, so I think is so amazing with this technique. You can really get away with a lot. So here I'm going to show you, I'm going to pause real quick and show you that I'm coloring. I'm actually going to be coloring these kitties with my Copics and my Ohuhu markers. Since they're both alcohol markers, it's okay to kind of mix them together or layer them essentially on top of each other. I'm starting with a Copic. It's C3. And I am just coloring in, this is going to be my lightest shade, so I'm just coloring around the kitty. Basically, this kitty will be kind of gray with like a white body. Now I'm moving on to my Ohuhu, and this is my medium shade of gray, which is BG5, which is a blue-gray. And I'm just kind of darkening the edges of not going quite as far as I did with the light gray. With this medium gray, I'm not going quite as into the cat with this medium gray. And then I'll move on to one more gray color. But I was just saying, when I was creating, I created several cards because I just really had fun with this technique. And every time I made one, I would send it to a picture of it to my sister to see if she could read it and make sure it was still legible. And it's pretty amazing how your mind can just put it together, even when though the cats or the critters that you substitute are not really the exact shape of the letter, which is pretty fun. You can have a lot of fun. And I really like the idea of, now this is my darkest shade that I just used. It is, BG7. And now I'm going over with my light gray again, my Copic, just to kind of blend everything out. And then I will move on to a colorless blender just to blend out that light gray where it meets the paper, or the white of the paper. But yeah, it's pretty amazing. You can have a lot of fun with these sentiments. And I really like what I was saying before, that when your sentiment pertains to the animal or critter that you used, or image that you use, because again, you could probably use flowers too, and that would be pretty or cute as well. So there's a lot of potential with this technique. You could really have a lot of fun. And I like how the whole card is your sentiment, so it's like you're all done. You've got your images and a sentiment all in one, so it's kind of fun to a different style of card. So I first colored this with a Copic, this bow in her cheeks. Sorry, I'm finding it here. It is R20, and then I took my Ohuhu 140 and colored in the darker spots. So here I'm coloring this other kitty. I'm going to make him basically orange. I'm starting with E21. I'm going to color most of the cat with this color, and then I will move on to kind of a yellow-orange color. It's an Ohuhu marker. This is 34. And as you can tell, you can see those Ohuhu markers do not have brush tips like the Copics, which is definitely a flaw, or not as great. I really do like the brush tips of the Copics, so that's definitely not a plus. But since they're only 50 cents a marker, I'm working with it and I'm making it work. To me, it was worth the payoff. That the cost difference was worth the messing around with this more of a fine tip on these Ohuhu. So still not sure, still not ready to give you guys a review, because there's a couple things I want to try with these Ohuhus. I want to make sure that I have some theories of what you can do with them. So and I'm still working with them, still trying to get the handle of them, and because I really want this to be it's a really useful review for you guys, so you can really make the decision, even though they're not super expensive. I mean, I got 80 markers for $40, so obviously they're not super expensive, but it's still $40. So okay, so now I'm using my darkest shade now, which is the 24, and I'm just coloring in around the utmost edge of the cat. So just doing kind of a really basic gradation, like nothing really too realistic here, just adding a soft gradation. And now I'm going back in with my medium shade, which is 34, and softening again the transition from the darker shade to the medium shade, and then I'll go back in with my lightest shade, which is a Copic E21, and now I'm going to do the cheeks, and this is the same shades I used earlier for the other kitty's cheeks and bow, and it's R20 is my light, and then I went with 140 Ohuhu for the darker. So that is it. And now I'm showing you some of the other cards I created. This one says your possum, which could work for a possum if you have a possum stamp set. And this says go bananas with the monkeys, which honestly I think might be my favorite. Okay, so those are all three cards. I hope you guys give this a try. If you have any questions about the techniques or I'm sorry, the products that I use, please visit waffleflower.com. And you can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook for more creative ideas. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thanks for joining me today. Have a wonderful day.